I'm delighted to have you as part of this community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for choosing our video on MythBusters 2010 season. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. The cast of the television series MythBusters perform experiments to verify or debunk urban legends, old wives' tales, and the like. This is a list of the various myths tested on the show as well as the results of the experiments. The myth is busted, plausible, or confirmed. Brace yourself for a deep dive into episode 137 Boomerang Bullet as we explore its impact and relevance in our evolving narrative. Original air date, January 4, 2010. Adam and Jamie probe a potentially fatal three-way ricochet, while the build team tries to recreate medieval germ warfare by turning trees into catapults. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of episode 138 Soda Cup Killer. Original air date, March 24, 2010. This episode was Jesse Combs' final appearance as a member of the build team. In this part of the video, we'll be diving deep into Cup versus Car and unraveling its profound impact. Myth statement status notes: a foam cup filled with soda, tossed from a car moving at highway speed, is capable of piercing another car's windshield and killing the driver. Partly busted. Adam and Jamie first fired several different mixes of soda and ice out of an air cannon to measure which was capable of delivering the most force. They found that slush was the most effective mix. They then built a test rig with a windshield and buster that simulated an oncoming vehicle. In a test run at 40 miles per hour, the cup was able to crack the windshield. At the full 60 miles per hour, the cup pierced the windshield, but it did not retain enough force to be lethal to buster. Adam and Jamie then decided to switch to using soda cans. While they worked better at piercing the windshield, Adam was unable to hit the windshield accurately enough to hit buster. Adam and Jamie resorted to using a shoulder-mounted air cannon Jamie built, but they still could not hit the windshield accurately enough. With one windshield left, the MythBusters instead fired at the windshield at point-blank range, killing Buster. However, since the cup lacked the power to harm Buster, the myth was declared busted. The MythBusters did point out that the situation was dangerous. The driver on the receiving end would likely be startled by the cup and would have trouble seeing out of the cracked windshield. That, in addition to being covered in the sticky drink and the splinters of glass from the broken window, would likely result in a very serious accident and possibly death. Brace yourselves for the next chapter, where we'll be dissecting Fall Guys. Myth statement status notes: a person can hang off the edge of a building or cliff indefinitely. Busted. The build team first tried to hang off the edge of a building with 3 inches of space to hold on to. All 3 members could hold on for only roughly 1 minute. Tori also badly hurt his knee on a window ledge in the process. They then reduced the grip space to 1 inch. Now Jesse could hold on for only 30 seconds, while Grant could not get a grip at all and instantly fell when hanging from half an inch. Aaron, an expert, showed that he could hold on to 1 inch of space for roughly 40 seconds and half an inch of space for 14 seconds. However, nobody could hold on to the edge indefinitely. The build team concluded that the only way one could be saved in this situation is if help arrived very quickly. A person can hang off the landing skid of a moving helicopter and successfully climb into the helicopter. Confirmed. Because hanging off an actual helicopter was deemed too dangerous, the build team decided to simulate the experiment. They first tested the downward force generated by a helicopter to see whether it would affect a person's ability to hang off the skid, but they found that it would exert only at most 130 kV, which was negligible. For the experiment, they built a fake helicopter and hung it over a swimming pool for safety reasons. To simulate movement, they set up a large fan that could create winds of up to 95 miles per hour. Jesse, Tori, and Grant all took turns hanging off the skid and succeeded in climbing into the helicopter. Though the experiment was a success, the build team was quick to point out that it was much harder than the movies would make it seem. As we embark on the next leg of our journey, Let's unpack the layers of episode 139 Dive to Survive and examine its core elements. Regional air date March 31, 2010. Kerry Byron returns to the series as of this episode. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of Dive to Survive. Myth statement status notes: diving underwater can protect you from an explosion. Plausible. During their small-scale tests using rupture disks, the MythBusters discovered that water can actually diminish the force of a shock wave caused by an explosion, giving credence to the myth. For their full-scale test, the MythBusters hung rupture disks 5 foot above water, 5 foot below water, and 10 foot below water at 5 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot, and 50 foot intervals away from the explosive. The MythBusters also detonated 50 pounds of 3 different types of explosives above the water: gasoline, ammonium nitrate, and dynamite. While the gasoline could rupture only the closest above water disk, the ammonium nitrate ruptured every single disk, and the dynamite ruptured all the disks except for the underwater disks located 50 foot away. With these differing results, the MythBusters declared that the myth was possible, depending on the explosive. In the next portion, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of phonebook freedom and examining its broader implications. Myth statement status notes: filling the cavities of a car with phonebooks will make the car bulletproof for non-armor piercing rounds. Busted. The build team filled several car doors with phonebooks and fired various firearms at it. The phonebooks were able to stop a magnum and caliber rounds. However, the more powerful deer slug shotgun rounds and the rifle were able to pierce the door and the phonebooks easily. Since the phonebooks could not stop all of the bullets, the myth was declared busted. However, the build team continued the experiment to see how many phonebooks behind the door would be needed to stop a deer slug and rifle round, and found that only 2 phonebooks were needed. A car completely covered in phonebooks will be bulletproof. Busted. The build team calculated how many phonebooks would be needed to completely bulletproof the car, which would be around 900. However, the number needed weighed significantly more than the car could carry, so the build team was forced to cut back the number of phonebooks they could use down to 400. They then installed a remote control system in the car and covered it with as many phonebooks as they could, and placed inflatable dummies inside to simulate people. They then drove the car around as they fired and deer slug rounds at it. All of the dummies inside the car survived. In their second test, the build team fired at the car with MERS and UMPs, but all of the dummies survived. For the third test, the build team fired various high-powered sniper rifles at the car. Kerry managed to disable the car with a caliber round, and the combined sniper fire managed to kill everybody in the car. Though the car was highly resistant to bullets, the fact that they could still penetrate the car and harm the people inside led the build team to declare the myth busted. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting episode 140 Spy Car Escape and exploring its intricate connections to our topic. Regional air date April 7, 2010. With that being said, let's now move on to Spy Car Escape. These myths are based on countless car chase scenes from spy movies. The MythBusters try to test whether a pursuing car can be stopped or eluded using. The MythBusters then built their own car-stopping devices. They then attempted to see if a pursuer could be stopped with. Myth statement status notes: Adam's parachute rig. Fail. As part of the MythBusters challenge, Adam designed a rig that would deploy a parachute and release it in hopes of blinding the pursuit car. While the parachute successfully deployed, the pursuit car was able to avoid it and chase down Adam. Both Adam and Jamie agreed that it might have worked, but that the challenge required a more reliable method. Jamie's specialized car-stopping devices. Partly successful as part of the MythBusters challenge, Jamie designed specialized car stoppers meant to get caught in the pursuit car's undercarriage and slow it down. While they deployed successfully, the pursuit car managed to stay on Jamie's tail despite taking serious damage from the car stoppers. Adam and Jamie pointed out that if the chase had gone on for much longer, the pursuit car would not have been able to keep up. Prepare yourself for an in-depth analysis of vector vengeance in this section. Myth statement status notes: throwing an object backward off a moving vehicle at the same speed as the vehicle is traveling forward will cause the object to drop straight to the ground. Confirmed for their first test, the build team used a treadmill running at 10 miles per hour to launch a weight off the back of a truck, and saw that the weight was propelled 6 foot away. Next, the build team repeated the experiment but had the truck driving at 10 miles per hour, and the weight seemed to drop straight down. They then repeated the experiment at 60 miles per hour using an air cannon to fire a soccer ball. However, they could not get the ball to drop straight down and decided to change their method of firing the ball. They tested a soccer ball pitching machine and Grant's ball kicking robot against the air cannon. In the end, they decided to stay with the air cannon after finding out it performed the most consistently among all 3 machines. The build team attempted the experiment again, and after a number of tries, they finally managed to get the ball to drop straight down. In this section, we'll be peeling back the layers of episode 141 Bottle Bash to reveal its true essence. Regional air date, April 14, 2010. As we enter this new phase, let's navigate the complexities of Bottle Bash and discover its practical applications. Myth statement status notes: when somebody bashes somebody else in the head with a beer bottle, an empty beer bottle will cause more damage than a full one. Busted. The MythBusters first started by striking a fake human head with both full and empty bottles. The initial results showed that the full bottle struck with an average G-force of 28.1, while the empty bottle struck at an average of 22.7. However, the MythBusters noted that the G-forces varied widely depending on how hard the head was struck. To get more consistent results, Adam built a machine to simulate a swinging arm. In their second test, the MythBusters used the robot arm to strike a container with gelatin representing the human brain. Analyzing the results, they found that the full bottle still delivered more force to the brain than the empty bottle, making an injury like a concussion more likely. However, the MythBusters decided to factor in other injuries such as skull fractures and lacerations. They built a container to more closely simulate a human skull. The full bottles were able to smash the skull, while the empty bottle could not even crack it. They then used artificial skin and blood to test for lacerations. However, the full and empty bottles caused the same number of lacerations. The full bottle was clearly more capable of causing damage than the empty bottle. Brace yourselves for the next chapter, where we'll be dissecting a leather cannon. Myth statement status notes: a fully functional cannon can be built completely out of leather. Busted. For comparison, the build team fired a Civil War Parrott gun of similar size to the cannons described in the myth to measure its muzzle velocity, which was 389 miles per hour. Because there are 2 separate versions of the myth originating from Sweden and Ireland, the build team decided to test both designs. The Swedish cannon consisted of a copper core wrapped in leather and iron bands, while the Irish cannon was built completely out of leather. The Swedish cannon managed to fire its cannonball at a speed of 450 miles per hour, but it blew out its breech in the process. The Irish cannon failed spectacularly, with the breech blowing out, the cannonball moving only 2 feet, and the barrel completely unraveling, making a second shot impossible. The team then built a third leather cannon and reinforced it with significantly more leather. They also lubricated the barrel to make it easier for the cannonball to fire. The cannon managed to fire successfully, but the cannonball could achieve a speed of only 52 miles per hour. While the cannon was still structurally intact, the barrel was too damaged for a second shot. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at episode 142, No Pain, No Gain, and its impact on our understanding. Original air date, April 28, 2010. Moving on to the next segment, we have No Pain, No Gain. Adam and Jamie subjected themselves to 4 painful stimuli: heat and electric current for Jamie, capsaicin injected under the skin, and cold for Adam, and chose to use cold for their investigations. They then built a chair for test subjects to sit in, with an ice bath into which they would immerse one hand for as long as they could endure it, and imposed a 3-minute maximum. The following 4 myths were tested. Myth statement status notes women have a higher pain tolerance than men. Confirmed 25 members of each gender took part. The women lasted an average of 100.4 seconds in the ice, while the average for the men was 84.3 seconds. Women who have undergone childbirth without using pain medication have a higher pain tolerance than women who have not. Confirmed in the SBS1 version of the episode, it was shown that the women who had given birth without pain medication lasted an average of 124 seconds in the above test, while the rest lasted an average of 73.8 seconds. Notably, the latter average was lower than that for the men. Natural redheads have a lower pain tolerance than people of other hair colors. Busted 24 people of each group, redheads and non-redheads, took part. The average time for the redheads was 132.2 seconds, while that for the non-redheads was 79.1 seconds. Cursing aloud will allow a person to tolerate more pain than using mild language. Confirmed Adam, Jamie, Grant, Tori, and Carrie subjected themselves to the ice bath while saying a list of innocuous words to cope with the pain. Jamie and Tori had to disqualify themselves because they lasted the full 3 minutes. Tori also began cursing during this attempt. They were replaced by 2 staff members. In the second trial, the 5 subjects were allowed to say a list of curse words, resulting in an average 30% increase in the time that they could keep their hands in the ice. Now, let's redirect our focus towards episode 143, Mythian Control, and discover its significance in our narrative. Original air date, May 5, 2010. Brace yourself for an in-depth analysis as we navigate through Crash Force and its far-reaching implications. Jamie and Adam revisited the compact myth after fans complained about a claim Jamie made in the earlier episode. During the investigation, he had said that 2 cars hitting each other at is equivalent to a single impact going into a solid wall at 100 miles an hour. This was disputed by fans claiming that according to Newton's third law, 2 cars hitting each other at 50 miles per hour is the same as 1 car crashing into a wall at 50 miles per hour. Myth statement status notes 2 cars crashing into each other at 50 miles per hour will exert the same force as a single car hitting a wall at 50 miles per hour. Confirmed in their small-scale tests, the MythBusters compressed clay with swinging hammers at 2 different speeds. Their results showed that 2 objects hitting each other at speed will cause damage. In their full-scale tests, the MythBusters crashed 2 cars into a wall at 50 and 100 miles per hour as references. They then had 2 cars going at 50 miles per hour collide into each other. After the results were surveyed, it was clear that the 2 cars suffered damage identical to the car that crashed into the wall at 50 miles per hour. The MythBusters explained that was possible through Newton's third law of motion. Even though there was twice the force generated from both cars, that force also had to be divided between the increased mass of both cars as well. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at Knock Your Socks Off Revisit and its impact on our understanding. The fans put forward a number of arguments, citing that the build team did not have a proper human analog and that they used elastic socks instead of non-elastic ones. The build team also decided to see whether hairy or hairless legs would be a factor in the myth. Myth statement status notes it is possible to literally knock someone's socks off. Partly confirmed, the build team tested various types of socks on both hairy and hairless legs to see which sock could be pulled off the easiest. The build team then concluded that a non-elastic woven wool sock on a hairless leg would be the best possible combination. They then built ballistics gel legs covered in lambskin to simulate human legs. The build team tested several punches, the uppercut, the right hook, and the body blow. However, none of the punches managed to remove the socks, even with superhuman strength. In order to see what it would take to knock a person's socks off, the team hit Buster with a girder mounted on a moving truck. While the truck failed to knock Buster's socks off the team saw on reviewed footage that the socks were sliding off. A second run finally sent the socks flying off Buster's feet. While the myth was confirmed, the build team pointed out that they had to use an astronomical amount of force in order to achieve it. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of episode 140 for duct tape R2 as we examine its impact and relevance. Regional air date, May 12, 2010. With our foundation established, it's time to explore 102 uses for duct tape and its relevance to our overarching theme. The MythBusters and the build team investigate whether the handyman's secret weapon can be used to. As we progress through this video, let's now turn our gaze towards episode 145 Waiterslide Wipeout. Regional air date, May 19, 2010. As we embark on the next leg of our journey, let's unpack the layers of Waiterslide Wipeout and examine its core elements. Based on a viral video that can be found on YouTube, this myth was done by the MythBusters by fan request. Myth statement status notes: a person can slide down a waiterslide, launch off a ramp at the end, fly, and accurately land in a small, distant pool. Did the MythBusters first built a scale model of the slide, and they discovered that the concept was plausible. They then built the full-size ramp with dimensions based on thorough analysis of the video. For safety reasons, the MythBusters built the slide next to a man-made lake so that they could avoid injury if they missed the target. After several runs, the MythBusters concluded that the 115-foot flight distance was impossible, as they could travel only at a maximum distance of with a peak speed of. In order to achieve the 115-foot distance, they would need to be traveling at least. They then tested the accuracy of the slide, and they found that the accuracy was fairly consistent. However, because they could not achieve the distance portion of the myth, they were forced to rate the myth busted. Just to make absolutely sure, the MythBusters contacted the people responsible for making the video, and they confirmed that the video was made using computer-generated imagery. In this part of the video, we'll be diving deep into left-hand turn and unraveling its profound impact. This myth was based on claims that delivery companies use programs that calculate routes using as few left turns as possible to maximize fuel efficiency. Myth statement status notes: per the policy of an unnamed package delivery company, driving a delivery truck route that takes mostly right turns instead of both right and left turns is more fuel efficient than driving normally because the vehicle uses up more gas idling while waiting for traffic to clear on a left turn than taking a right turn. The build team generally assumed that the only alternative to a left turn was to replace each one with 3 right turns in the same area. Confirmed for their first test, the build team drove a regular-size car on a controlled course. On the first run, they drove the car around a block using a left-hand turn, but they had to wait for a turn signal. In the second run, they instead took 3 right turns to bypass the signal, but the route was longer. The results showed that the car managed to cover more distance in less time taking right turns compared to left turns while consuming only less than 1% more fuel. For a real-world result, the build team obtained a full-size delivery truck with the objective of delivering packages to several locations scattered throughout San Francisco. For their second run, they drove exactly the same route, but they replaced each left turn with 3 right turns. Both runs included the treacherous Lombard Street Hill. After reviewing their results, the build team discovered that the right turn route was more fuel efficient with a 3% difference, despite having to drive a longer distance. Kerry then pointed out that this would be an ideal strategy for delivery trucks in urban environments but would not work as well with regular cars. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of episode 146 Fireball Stun Gun and unravel its multifaceted nature. Regional air date, June 2, 2010. As we move forward, let's uncover the untold stories and fascinating intricacies of Fireball Stun Gun. Myth statement status notes: a taser being used on a target covered with pepper spray will cause the target to catch on fire, inspired by the 2008 CSI crime scene investigation episode entitled The Theory of Everything, which featured Adam and Jamie in cameo roles observing it happen. Plausible. First, Adam and Jamie attempted the myth exactly as it appeared on the show, by firing a taser at a flannel shirt doused with a can of police-issue pepper spray, just as Nick Stokes' George Eads did in the episode in front of them, but they failed to achieve any combustion. They then decided to analyze the individual parts of the myth, basing their analysis on the fire triangle. Reasoning that oxygen was no issue, they studied their ignition method by examining a stun gun in detail and discovering that it created sparks when in operation, including a sizable spark when a barb gets embedded in the target's clothing instead of its skin, making it a more than viable ignition source. For fuel, Adam and Jamie then tested various pepper spray brands for flammability, and while 2 of the brands did not react, the other 3 combusted violently due to their use of flammable propellant, in most cases oil-based. Not only that, but they then tested various clothing materials that I used to make flannel shirts to determine which was the most flammable, and found that most flammable material to be acrylic fiber. They then combined those 3 elements and managed to successfully use a stun gun to ignite an acrylic shirt sprayed with the most flammable mace they found. However, the flame was not as intense as that seen on the show, so Adam and Jamie used almost 8 cans worth of the same pepper spray to achieve the fireball seen in the Theory of Everything. Since the myth required a number of factors to achieve, Adam and Jamie settled on a plausible result. To end on a bang, Jamie incinerated an acrylic-clad metal dummy pup using a flamethrower at the bomb range. Let's now shift our focus to episode 147, Flu Fiction, and explore the ways in which it shapes our perspective. Regional air date, June 9, 2010. Now, let's redirect our focus towards Fever Pitch and discover its significance in our narrative. Adam and Jamie explore 3 myths associated with the common cold. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting episode's top 25 moments and exploring its implications in greater detail. Regional air date, June 16, 2010. This episode is a countdown of the cast's 25 favorite myths and moments to date, with comments from Adam, Jamie, and the build team. This was an 86-minute-long special. Hashname in Countdown Myth featured comments 25J ATO Rocket Kudjit assisted Shitty First Myth tested 24 guns and ammo tree machine gun. Frequent use of various firearms on the show. 23 Science is golden bullets fired up. Scientific analysis used in exploring myths. 22 Failure is always an option. Supersize rocket core experiments going wrong in unexpected ways. 21 World Firsts breaking glass. First world first time a person had been filmed breaking a glass with their voice. 20 Mean Machines steam-powered machine gun. Massive and intricate builds for testing myths. 19 MythBusters dress code. Various safety gear and ridiculous costumes used by the casty teen. Underwater car demonstrating survival skills some viewers were able to actually use in a real-life situation. 17 Not So Steely Stomachs. Various cast members vomiting on camera. 16 Surprise. All in a China shop. Unexpected results from an experiment. 15 Buster. Honorary MythBuster exploding pants. The trials and tribulations of Buster. 14 Duct Tapastic duct tape sailboat. The cast finds new uses for duct tape. 13 Weird and wonderful vacuum toilet. Most bizarre what the hell are we doing? Moments. 12 Lunar Lunacy NAS, a moon landing, a story intended to promote critical thinking among viewers. 11 Shot Tales playing Dead Shock related myths. 10 Flatus burning lighting that emission, a segment that had not previously aired on the show. 9 Human Guinea Pigs, various cast members taking part in stunts and physical testing. 8 Bring Out the Blimp, Hindenburg Mystery, an experiment whose dramatic outcome matched closely with the real world event on which it was based. 7 One Line Wonders, various cast members, memorable lines and recurring themes. 6 Alcatraz Escape from Alcatraz, a classic story that left several questions unanswered even after it was finished. 5 Cud Drop Racing Gravity, the build team's favorite myth for accident to happen. Various montage of Adam and Tori's frequent mishaps on camera. 3 Rocketry in Motion, compact supersized. Snowplow rocket replication. The use of rocket engines in revisiting a pair of myths to lead balloon. Adam and Jamie's favorite myth won explosive fan favorites several, with the main final representation being the exploding cement truck from Cement Mix Up, a collection of favorite explosions as chosen by fans and cast members set to the finale of the 1812 overture. In this part of the video, we'll be diving deep into episode 148, Care of the Dog, and unraveling its profound impact. Original air date, October 6, 2010. As we progress, let's zoom in on Beat the Bloodhound, Part 2, and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. This was a revisit of the Fall the Bloodhound myth from 2007. Adam and Jamie investigated new suggestions for evading detection by a scent hound, using the same dog Morgan and handler from that earlier episode. Given a 5-minute head start, Jamie fled while using myth statement status notes, a literal red herring. Busted. Jamie spread canned herring across his path in an attempt to throw Morgan off the scent. Morgan stopped to eat the fish and passed the point where Jamie turned off the main trail, but Morgan later doubled back and found him. A suit treated with cleaning products intended to neutralize odors. Busted. Despite Jamie's suit and choice of hiding places to shelter himself from the breeze, Morgan found him without difficulty. An escape route that crosses a river rather than a small stream as in 2007. Busted. Morgan was able to pick up Jamie's scent in the water and find him. Adam and Jamie concluded that the size of the body of water had no effect on a bloodhound's ability to track fugitives. A complete full body cleaning and equipment to mask his scent. Busted. Jamie scrubbed himself down and rinsed with wipes meant for use by hunters to disguise their scent, then put on a protective suit with a gas mask and a filter to remove odors from his breath. He sprayed a false scent trail using his own wash water through the sprayer into the tall grass and hid. The trail distracted Morgan for a short time, but he soon found the sprayer and tracked Jamie to his hiding place. Adam and Jamie also explored a bloodhound's ability to single out a suspect from a group. Myth statement status notes: if several suspects flee at once, the dog can find a particular one after being given his or her scent. Plausible. 5 men each provided one unwashed shirt, then fled together for a short distance before splitting up. Morgan was given one of the 5 shirts for a scent, then began to track. He initially had the correct trail, but he soon became confused and could not find it again. In a second test, he did find the correct suspect, leading Adam and Jamie to conclude that picking a single suspect out of a lineup in this manner was a plausible but unreliable method. However, it was noted that dogs can be trained to track multiple targets and that Morgan had not received such training. In the upcoming portion, we'll be dissecting Beat the Sniffer Dog to gain a comprehensive understanding of its implications. For contraband detecting dogs, Buck, Rex, Gypsy, Max and their handlers took part in a series of tests arranged by the build team. They investigated the possibility of fooling the dogs by myth statement status notes masking the scent of the contraband with a much stronger one. Busted. The contraband was packed into a plastic container with one of 5 strong scent materials: coffee, peanut butter, citronella, perfume, and bleach, and hidden in a large warehouse filled with props. Rex was able to find the package every time, with only the citronella slowing him down to any degree. Using an ultrasonic dog repellent device. Busted. Carrie tested out such a device on her own 2 puppies to verify its effectiveness. The build team then set up a typical outdoor concert scenario, with over 200 people gathered in a parking lot and possible distractions for the dog, a car with stereo blaring and a fast food truck. One person was given the contraband and the repellent device to trigger whenever Gypsy came too close, but she was able to ignore it and find her target, distracting the dog with another scent. Busted. The concert scenario was reset, and a female dog in heat was placed near the person with the contraband, in an attempt to distract the male sniffing dog with pheromones. Max did become confused, whereupon his handler removed both him and the female from the area. After a few minutes, Max was brought back in and successfully found the contraband. The handler noted that it is standard procedure to remove all other dogs from the area being searched to prevent this sort of situation. Packing the contraband with materials intended to cause a false positive and to repel the handler. Busted Tory fitted a false bottom into a suitcase, loaded the contraband into that, and then packed that suitcase and several others with the chosen material. The cases were hidden in a large warehouse full of luggage. Tests with strongly aromatic cheese and sausage, and with dirty diapers from Kerry's baby, failed to deter Buck from picking the correct bag or his handler from searching it to find the contraband. The handler noted that both dogs and their handlers are thoroughly trained in seeing through attempts to deceive them. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of episode 149, Storm Chasing Myths. Original air date October 13, 2010. Adam and Jamie team up with Sean Casey and Reed Timmer from the series Storm Chasers to investigate myths related to the power of tornadoes. The build team does not take part in this episode. The episode includes a memorial to Sanjay Singh, an EMT and honorary Mythbuster who died in 2010. With the foundation laid, let's embark on a journey into episode 150, Cold Feet. Regional air date October 20, 2010. As we progress through this video, let's shift our attention towards when feces hit the fan and uncover its hidden depths. Myth statement status notes: when feces hits a fan, everybody around the fan will get hit by it. Plausible: since using real feces was too dangerous and smelly, the Mythbusters created their own artificial feces for testing. Against a plastic fan, the feces was not spread very well. The metal fan could spread the feces much better, but the Mythbusters still were not satisfied with the results. They then tried feces with differing consistencies and found that softer feces was the best choice. However, the 12 and 20-inch fans were still unable to completely spread the feces around. The Mythbusters then upgraded a fan and got better results, with feces being flung as far as well as hitting all of the targets. The Mythbusters then used an even larger fan and threw feces at it from all directions, which successfully threw feces everywhere. The Mythbusters decided that the myth was plausible under the right circumstances. In this section, we'll be shedding light on cold feet and its impact on our understanding of the subject. This myth is based on the popular saying "getting cold feet." Myth statement status notes: your feet get physically colder when you are afraid of doing something. Plausible: the build team first measured the temperature of their feet by using skin sensors and found the average temperature of a human foot is 96 F. To test this myth, each member of the build team was given a specific test that would make him or her feel the most uncomfortable to perform. Tory, being uncomfortable with high heights, rode as a passenger in a stunt plane as it performed numerous aerial maneuvers by Sean D. Tucker. The data showed that Tory's feet got colder only shortly before each stunt was performed, but the temperature changed only by a degree. Grant, being uncomfortable with fish and bugs touching him, was exposed to tarantulas that crawled all over his head in a specialized container. During the test, the sensors recorded Grant's foot temperature dropping almost 15 F 8.3 C. Kerry, being a vegetarian, was forced to eat a live waxworm and cricket. Her foot temperature also dropped 15 F during the test. The build team declared the myth plausible since all three of them experienced temperature drops in their feet. Grant explained that this is most likely due to the fact that when humans feel fear, the outer blood vessels in the hands and feet constrict, drawing blood and warmth away from the extremities and towards the muscles needed to either fight or run. The myth was only deemed plausible due to Tory's test results and the small sample size. Welcome to the next segment, where we explore episode 151, Tablecloth Chaos, and its significance in our journey. Regional air date October 27, 2010. Adam and Jamie explore a large-scale version of an old magic trick, while the build team investigates a popular belief about brain activity. Let's now venture into the realm of episode 152, Aero Machine Gun, and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. Original US air date, November 3, 2010. Original UK air date, October 25, 2010. As we venture forward, let's examine episode 153 Mini Myth Madness in detail and gain a deeper appreciation for its significance. Original air date, November 10, 2010. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration of Request Fest as we dive into its profound implications. As a tribute to their fans, the MythBusters randomly drew 6 fan-submitted letters and tested the myths and questions in them. One letter contained 3 separate myths, bringing the total number of tests in this episode to 8. Myth statement: status result notes: a scuba diver can wear a tuxedo underneath his true-suit, go underwater, resurface, strip off his scuba gear, and be able to present the tuxedo perfectly. This was inspired by the pre-title sequence of Goldfinger. Confirmed Adam and Jamie don tuxedos after meeting with an image consultant to learn about the particulars of black tie formal dress. Adam boarded a boat to serve as a comparison standard, while Jamie put on a true-suit and took a 40-minute scuba dive to rendezvous with him. Once Jamie climbed aboard, removed the suit, and brushed himself down, both his tuxedo and Adam's were found to be in presentable condition for a party. A car's tire pressure can significantly affect its fuel efficiency. Confirmed the build team ran a car through a test course with regular tire pressure, extremely overinflated and deflated tires, and slightly overinflated and deflated tires, and measured the resulting fuel efficiency for each. The data showed that lower than normal tire pressure resulted in significantly more fuel being consumed, due to a larger amount of surface area in contact with the road to increase friction. Higher than normal pressure did improve fuel efficiency. However, the build team discouraged the idea of overinflating tires due to the hazards involved and negligible cost savings. A laptop can stop a point-blank blast from a shotgun. Plausible: using a 12-gauge shotgun, the build team fired a load of birdshit at a 4-year-old laptop in a leather bag from point-blank range, with a block of ballistic gelatin behind it to stand for the owner's body. The birdshit easily punctured every area of the laptop that was hit and damaged the gelatin severely. In a second test, the team targeted the battery component with the highest density and found that none of the pellets would go through it. The team classified the myth as plausible since only a very lucky shot would be stopped. A hair weave can stop a caliber bullet. Busted: the build team replicated the conditions of the news story on which the myth was based, firing at a ballistic gelatin head through a car's rear windshield from 8 feet behind it. The bullet easily penetrated the head's hair weave and exited through the front, pulling some of the hair with it. The team hypothesized that in the actual shooting, the bullet may have ricocheted off a metal part before coming to rest near the victim's head, giving the illusion that the weave stopped the bullet. A refrigerator door can stop a spray of bullets. Busted: the build team fired numerous bullets at a modern refrigerator door stocked with items commonly found in refrigerators. Every shot easily penetrated both the door and a block of ballistic gelatin placed behind it, indicating lethal impacts. The team achieved the same result with a double-walled steel refrigerator door from ERS. One of these weighs elbow, hanky, or hand is the best way to limit the spread of germs created by sneezes. Use your elbow. Adam and Jamie tested 3 different techniques of containing sneeze: a hand, an elbow, and a handkerchief with the help of snuff and food coloring as in the myth fever pitch. Adam's sneezes into his hand spread droplets up to 9.5 feet away, while Jamie's elbow stopped nearly all of the droplets from his sneezes. The few that were not stopped traveled only 0.5 feet. When Adam sneezed into the handkerchief, those droplets also traveled 0.5 feet but soaked his hand as well. They noted that the germs would quickly spread to both the user's hand and other items that touched the cloth, defeating the purpose of using it. The elbow was judged the most effective device for containing germs from a sneeze. It is easy to take candy from a baby. Busted: Adam and Jamie measured the amounts of force required to simply pick up a lollipop versus taking one from a baby. They tried snatching the lollipop from babies of various ages months and found that the babies would actively fight to keep the candy. Younger ones tended to use brute force to hold on to the lollipop, while older ones used different tactics such as crying and moving the candy out of reach. Picking up the candy required 0.08 lv, while taking it from the babies took an average of 2.01 lv, indicating that the latter is actually harder to do than the former. If a bottle of beer is put in the freezer for long enough, removed while it is still liquid, and given a sudden shock, the beer will instantly freeze solid. Confirmed the build team left bottles of beer inside a freezer for various times, ranging from 120 minutes to 180 minutes, before removing and striking them. The team found that 180 minutes of cooling time was necessary to allow the instant freezing to occur. The most likely explanation is supercooling, in which a liquid, beer or otherwise, in a very clean container can be cooled below its freezing point, but it will rapidly form crystals and freeze if it is disturbed in any way. Without wasting any more time, let's jump into the fascinating world of episode 150 for reverse engineering. Regional US air date, November 17, 2010. Original UK air date, November 8, 2010. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore episode 155 Inverted Underwater Car from a different angle. Regional air date, November 24, 2010. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at episode 156 Bug Special and its impact on our understanding. Regional air date, December 1, 2010. Let's now enter the realm of Laptop Lift and discover the fascinating stories it has to tell. The MythBusters take a crack at a bee-related myth based on a viral video. Get ready for a thought-provoking discussion as we delve into fly versus water and its impact on our understanding. According to the build team, this was one of the most demanded myths from the fans. The popular theory is that since water refracts light, it would confuse flies' compound eyes. Myth statement status notes: bags of water hung from the ceiling can repel flies. Busted. The build team built a rig consisting of 3 chambers separated by trapdoors. The first chamber would hold the flies, the second would hold some rotten meat, and the third would hold both rotten meat and a bag of water. The team then released over 5,000 flies from the first chamber and waited to see how many flies would go into each of the other 2. After the chambers were sealed off, they let all the flies die and collected the corpses to weigh for comparison. The chambers with and without the water contained 35 and 20 grams of flies, respectively, busting the myth. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of episode 157 President's Challenge and its fascinating intricacies. Regional air date, December 8, 2010. Prepare yourself for an in-depth analysis of Archimedes' Solar Ray 3 in this section. President Obama challenges Adam and Jamie to revisit the ancient death ray myth originally aired September 29, 2004. And subsequently followed up in a 2006 revisit. Brace yourself for a deep dive into episode 158 Green Hornet Special as we explore its impact and relevance in our evolving narrative. Regional air date, December 15, 2010. Seth Rogen, star of the 2011 film The Green Hornet, gives the cast 2 myths to test concerning the Green Hornet's car, Black Beauty. Get ready for a captivating exploration as we unravel the layers of episode 159 Operation Valkyrie and their profound significance. Regional air date, December 22, 2010. I love interacting with my viewers, so leave me a comment and I'll do my best to respond.